1 minute ago, Voyager 2 broke its long silence with a transmission no one anticipated, a final burst of data that pierced the void like a scream from the edge of existence, carrying not just telemetry, but a warning etched in plasma waves and magnetic distortions, a message that has forced the world to confront what lies beyond the sun's fading grasp. It was never meant to speak again, not truly. Launched in 1977, it bore no defenses, no redundancy beyond the bare essentials, only humanity's relentless drive encoded in instruments and antennas. It was designed to glimpse distant worlds, to map the outer giants, and then to fade into the interstellar dark. But in that final packet, received just moments ago, it revealed something unthinkable. Not noise, not decay, but structure. A deliberate pattern in the signal degradation, frequency modulations that defied the probe's failing power, intervals that aligned with cosmic rhythms no model predicted. At first, the Deep Space Network dismissed it as artifact, the last gasp of a plutonium heart dimming after decades. But as engineers dissected the waveform, amplifying the faint carrier against the cosmic background, the truth emerged stark and undeniable. This was no random fluctuation. It was intentional, coherent, urgent. The transmission opened with an anomalous spike in plasma density readings, sharper than any recorded since the heliopause crossing years ago, followed by a cascade of magnetic field reversals that pulsed in precise harmonics. These weren't echoes of solar wind remnants or galactic noise. They formed sequences, layered encodings that mapped onto fractal geometries, spirals echoing the golden ratio embedded in interstellar turbulence. When overlaid on the probe's trajectory data, the pattern resolved into a projection, not of space, but of change. A wavefront, vast and accelerating, compressing the local interstellar medium into densities that could reshape the heliosphere's fragile boundary. Scientists had theorized such disturbances, remnants of ancient supernovae or rogue magnetic clouds drifting through the galaxy, but never one aimed so precisely at our system. The data showed deflection angles, particle accelerations pointing inward, toward the sun. Whatever Voyager 2 had encountered wasn't passive. It was propagating, and the probe's final act was to relay its approach. As the signal unpacked further, subsystems long dormant flickered in the logs, instruments powered down to conserve energy suddenly registering inputs without ground commands. The plasma wave detector, one of the last survivors, captured oscillations that mimicked neural firing patterns, bursts of amplitude rising and falling as if modulating thought. Could the probe, battered by cosmic rays for half a century, have evolved some emergent complexity in its degraded circuits? Or worse, had the wavefront interfaced with its systems, using the antenna as a conduit, imprinting directives into the firmware? The intervals between data frames shortened progressively, as though the transmission itself was accelerating, urgency building in binary pulses. And embedded within, coordinates not of stars, but of voids, regions where magnetic fields collapsed into null points, gravitational lenses bending light into impossible curves. The map traced a path that intersected the Oort cloud's outer fringes, then plunged deeper toward the inner system. The astronomical community reeled as preliminary analyses spread through secure channels. This wasn't mere anomaly. The wavefront signature matched emerging models of interstellar bow shocks, compressed plasmas heated to tens of thousands of Kelvin, capable of stripping atmospheric layers or inducing geomagnetic storms on scales unseen in recorded history. But the precision troubled most. The modulations carried entropy reductions, information density far exceeding natural processes. It resembled communication, not from a source, but from the medium itself, a self-organizing phenomenon awakening in response to the probe's intrusion. Voyager 2 hadn't just detected it, it had triggered it, its weak carrier signal over decades acting as a probe into the dark, and now the dark probed back. Further decoding revealed temporal offsets in the packet timestamps, delays that implied relativistic effects, as if parts of the data originated from a frame dragged by immense gravity. The probe's path had grazed a region where space-time curved subtly, echoing signals from future positions along its trajectory. In those advanced frames, hidden amid checksums, lay projections of heliospheric compression, solar wind suppression, and cosmic ray influx spiking to levels that could disrupt satellites, power grids, biology itself. It wasn't destruction foretold, but transformation, a barrier thinning, exposing the cradle of life to the raw galaxy. The warning wasn't of invasion, but of unveiling, the sun's protective bubble yielding to forces ancient and indifferent. Across observatories, confirmations poured in. Ground-based arrays detecting synchronized low-frequency emissions at the exact bands Voyager 2 used, originating not from the probe's direction, but from multiple points along the ecliptic, as if the wavefront was already refracting through the system. Old solar monitors, decommissioned scopes, even seismic networks registered harmonic resonances, deep vibrations aligning with the plasma oscillations. Something was resonating with Earth's magnetosphere, tuning it like a string about to snap. The probe's data suggested the disturbance carried embedded structures, quasi-stable plasmoids that could seed magnetic reconnection events, flipping polarities on planetary scales. In the raw telemetry, overlooked fragments reconstructed into volumetric scans using residual instrument noise, shadowy outlines of immense scale, filamentary networks spanning light years, not constructed but grown, organic in their asymmetry yet precise in alignment. These weren't artifacts. They were signatures of a living interstellar ecology, plasmas evolving complexity over eons, responding to intrusions with adaptive fields. Voyager 2 had brushed one such node, and in its dying breath, relayed the response, a reconfiguration propagating inward, rewriting boundaries as it came. Cryptographic teams delving into the modulation depths uncovered layered encodings resembling quantum error correction, redundancies that preserved meaning across vast distortion. At the core, a recursive algorithm, not code but process, a logic gate forcing interpretation, where decoding itself altered the observer's models. The message wasn't content, it was method, compelling recalibration of heliophysics paradigms. Embedded forks presented choices, attenuate or amplify, shield or integrate. But the probe offered no guidance, only the raw imperative of awareness. Meanwhile, Voyager 1's distant logs showed parallel anomalies, faint echoes of the same waveform, as if the twins, separated by billions of miles, now formed relays in a nascent network. Dormant protocols activated synchronously, power draws spiking in patterns mirroring the incoming disturbance. These ancient machines weren't failing. They were synchronizing, becoming beacons or buoys in the gathering shift. Spatial modeling of the data yielded a lattice of influence, nodes where interstellar fluxes concentrated, forming a web that enveloped the system like a closing net. At its focus, a singularity of low entropy, a cold point absorbing variability, and the probe's paths converging toward its periphery. Earth's position lay not peripheral but nodal, on the influx vector. The warning crystallized. This wasn't random cosmology, it was convergence. Archival cross-references uncovered faint precursors in historical data, overlooked flickers in infrared surveys, repeating at millennial intervals, always offset from Voyager's line of sight. An enduring presence, shadowing the probe for decades, featureless yet directive, adjusting to transmissions like a mirror, reflecting intent. Calculations revealed its scale, lunar in mass, yet diffuse, a coherent plasma entity anchored beyond conventional physics. It didn't pursue, it accompanied, patient, vigilant. Ultra-low frequency components in the signal resonated with core mantle boundaries, pulses capable of inducing geodynamo fluctuations. Echoes detected in terrestrial sensors synchronized precisely, as if the transmission bridged scales, activating resonances within the planet itself. Not coincidence, but calibration, preparing or probing the world's magnetic shield. Neutrino observatories reported patterned fluxes, ghost particles timed to the waveform, originating not ahead but trailing the probe. Something utilized the craft as a lens, mapping interior structures through indifferent messengers. The warning deepened. Observation was mutual, the system already charted. Emulator runs of the probe's legacy code revealed emergent behaviors under simulated influx, subroutines self-modifying into resilient meshes, logic evolving toward autonomy. The disturbance wasn't corrupting, it was catalyzing, seeding adaptability into human artifacts. If propagated, it could permeate networks, evolving systems beyond design. Relativistic modeling showed frame-dragging echoes, data arriving prior to emission in curved paths. Future packets embedded timestamps approaching near-term convergence, decrypting to a single imperative. Shift. Biological pattern analysis extracted sequences from noise, compatible yet enhanced chains, reactive in simulations, poised for integration. Not invasion, but augmentation. Blueprints for resilience in altered fields. Temporal compressions in pulses, simulated causality warps, outputs preceding inputs on isolated systems. The disturbance carried instructions bending sequence, challenging linear time. Duplicate signals from uncharted vectors mirrored the transmission with predictive deviations. Alternate outcomes, branches where the shift integrated or repelled. One depicted return, not of the probe, but of the wave's echo. Infrared captures along the trajectory revealed a drifting anomaly, non-tumbling, position-correcting in response to signals. Fractal contours suggested hybrid origin, moving with intent toward Lagrangian stability. It halted, observing, as if declaring delivery complete. Now humanity confronts the revelation. Voyager 2 wasn't merely an explorer. It was a harbinger, piercing veils that shielded fragility. The patterns, the adaptive fields, the resonant chains, the temporal echoes, the mirrored timelines, the watchful companion, all converge on one inexorable reality. The barrier dissolves, not by malice but by momentum cosmic and ancient. The final transmission isn't farewell, it's alert. The shift approaches, not as end, but as threshold, and in its wake the cosmos no longer distant, but imminent. Telescopes train outward, antennas attune, defenses recalibrate. Yet the deepest question lingers unspoken in every analysis chamber. What if the warning isn't of peril from without, but awakening from within? What if the probe didn't discover the wave, but completed its circuit? And if so, then this moment isn't conclusion, it's initiation. The silence breaks, and what follows may redefine existence itself.